Welcome to the North Coast News Network newsroom for September 27th, 2020. We've got a bunch of videos for you today. Stay tuned, here they are.
That they deserve. Let's dive right in and audit the interaction. On July 15th, 2018, 23-year-old Montre Little and 21-year-old Jared Clinton were leaving a local park where they were stopped by Officer Kyle Thies of the Des Moines Police Department in Des Moines, Iowa.
What's going on, guys?
Not much.
What's up?
How you doing, officer?
Is this your car?
Well, it's a rental right now. My car's been shot.
Okay. Did something break down?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. You guys just came from over the park, right?
Yeah, we just hanging out.
That's it?
Well, that's what we doing.
Is this your car?
I just told you my car's in the shop, officer. This is a rental.
Okay. How do you start it?
What do you mean? I just put my foot on the brake and I put it in drive and I
Okay.
drive, officer.
Officer Thies' seemingly innocent question is much more tactical and accusational than it initially appears. Asking about starting the vehicle gives Officer Thies important clues about Mr. Little's relationship with the vehicle. If Mr. Little isn't familiar with the process for starting the car, it could insinuate to the officer that he may have stolen the vehicle. Likewise, if Mr. Little fumbles or acts erratically while answering the question, it could insinuate that he is inebriated. Either one of those scenarios could provide Officer Thies with reasonable suspicion to investigate further. Luckily, Mr. Little did not act erratically and seemed familiar with starting the vehicle. However, Officer Thies' question still segued into an additional question, which ultimately results in Mr. Little surrendering his keys to the officer.
So it's your car, though? Did they give you a fob or something?
My car, officer.
Did they give you a key fob or something? Or
Yes, sir. Officer.
like, what does it do? Does it?
You see, this that should let you know that it's in.
Okay. Do you have any weapons on you or in the car?
No, officer.
Okay. Can I be honest with you? It smells like marijuana in the car, and I can see shake on the ground. And your buddy's given me the idea that maybe he's got a gun.
The smell of marijuana is often used by police officers as probable cause to bypass the consent to search that is typically required from the driver of the vehicle. I have made a video that discusses the smell of marijuana and its relationship to probable cause in more detail that I will link in the info card above. It is important to note the speed at which Officer Thies draws his conclusions. Officer Thies hasn't even asked Mr. Little for his ID yet, but he has already concluded that the smell of marijuana is present, there is marijuana shake on the ground, and that Mr. Clinton has a gun hidden on his person only 2 minutes into the interaction. Officer Thies goes on to admit that he is basing his accusation about the gun purely on a personal hunch.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think.
How?
I don't know. Just the way. I mean, just the way you're holding yourself, man. Like, that's why we're nervous, man. That's it. I mean, if you're scared because you got a little bit of weed, that'll be one thing.
Officer,
Okay.
there's no weed.
Okay.
There's no shake on the floor.
Okay. So there's no shake on the floor.
Officer,
Okay. All right. And you don't have any weapons on you? You said.
officer, that is correct.
Okay. Do you have your ID on you?
My brother's been pulled over most of the time for doing that for me. I live in Des Moines, I go to work. I don't like doing it.
Okay. You don't got no weapons on you?
Officer, no, sir.
Go ahead and step out, Montre.
Actually, I did.
Yep. I just told you why. 3 times. You want me to recap again?
Officer, look, my hands is up.
Yep. Your hands are up, and now I'm asking you to step out of the car.
I gave you my ID.
You gave me your ID.
Go run it.
Yep. I don't want to. I'm not walking away from this car.
Officer, can I ask you why?
Yep. Because I just told you, step out of the car. If you don't want to go to jail, I would expect you to please listen. I mean, I told you I'm a cop. Face the car when you step out. Face the car when you step out. Face the car when you step out. Don't flex. Don't flex. I don't know what you're doing, man, but you need to knock that off. Stop pulling on your arms. What's going on, dude? Where are you trying to go? What are you doing, dude?
Officer, I'm not doing nothing to you.
Okay. Well, you're making me think something funny is going on, man.
Come on, man.
You're not under arrest. You're just like pulling away like you're gonna do something silly. And I don't want that. What?
Nothing.
I what?
I'm not even gonna.
Okay. Well, you're not under arrest, man. We're just trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so slide over here. I mean, your heart is thumping, dude. Like you're beating.
Officer, please don't.
Don't what? Have a seat.
Okay.
Have a seat. I think that your buddy has a gun, so I need you to step in the car.
You think my buddy has a gun?
He's acting funny. Step in the car, please.
Officer,
if you don't step in the car, you're going to jail for sure.
Okay, that's
so
fine,
step
officer.
in the car. So step in the car.
Listen.
I'm done listening. I just told you I think that your buddy has a gun. Now knock it off.
Nothing in your. Can you spread your feet just a little bit? Okay. All right, come back and stand with me, okay? You're not gonna run from the area.
How old are you, Montre?
March 25th, 1995.
You supposed to be drinking in the park there?
Officer, officer, that's just in there, okay? There was no gun, there was no weapon to harm you, officer. We didn't do anything wrong. We stopped at the stoplight. We pulled over when you pulled over. I did everything you asked me to, officer. You thought there was a weapon. There's no weapon. We wasn't doing anything wrong, officer. I'm not sure why you pulled me over. That's your rental. Everything is fine. There's no breaking taillight or nothing, officer. I did nothing wrong with you.
Okay.
Officer Thies's original reason for the stop was never made public, and Mr. Little makes a valid point. Based purely on the information in the video, there doesn't appear to be any valid reason for a traffic stop. The tag, registration, and functions of the vehicle must have been valid considering that the car is a rental, and it would appear as if Officer Thies was unaware that there was an open container in the car because he had to search the vehicle in order to find it, and he made no mention of it to Mr. Little at the beginning of the video. Leaving a park is hardly a crime and certainly does not justify a traffic stop. Many aspects of this stop are based purely on the speculations of Officer Thies, and it is reasonable to assume that the stop itself was based on a hunch.
If I take them handcuffs off you, can you dump out that bottle of alcohol for me?
Oh, I could do it anytime, officer.
Is that good?
Yeah, of course it is.
You good? We straight? Okay. So here's the deal. Like, you and I know. I mean, let's start over. Let's roll with each other. Did I make anything up when I said the car smelled like marijuana?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
Hold on.
Because there was nobody smoking in the car.
Is there marijuana shake on the floor of the car?
Officer, that was cigarette ash, okay? You didn't find no marijuana.
I'm not charging you with marijuana. But here's what. If you want me to be real with you, like I want you to be real with me for a second. Like, did I make that up? You know what I mean? Did I make it up?
I believe so, officer.
It is unclear whether Officer Thies is seeking validation or a confession, but Mr. Little calls the officer's bluff and refuses to grant him the satisfaction of either. Any legal scholar will tell you to never admit anything to a police officer, and Mr. Little's honesty very well could have saved him from being charged with a crime. The 1969 Supreme Court case of Frazier v. Cupp affirmed the legality of deceptive interrogation tactics and essentially granted officers the authority to lie in the line of duty. Law enforcement officers often use the Frazier ruling to their advantage by pretending to be friendly and lenient in order to solicit a confession from their suspects. No matter what an officer says, it is never in anyone's best interest to admit anything to a member of law enforcement under any circumstances. The Fifth Amendment protects citizens from answering questions without legal counsel present, and the right to remain silent is a powerful tool that every citizen should be aware of and invoke when necessary.
Okay, so you want me to just write you the ticket for the stuff that I had to write you tickets for?
If you think that I'm lying, like, then we'll go to court and we'll talk about it then.
Okay.
Or do you want to just be real with me and I'll be real with you?
Wow, officer.
Right?
I would like to pull out my alcoholic reaction to officer. You didn't find anything. We wasn't doing anything, officer.
Okay. So you're not going to admit that you maybe were around people smoking or something like that?
Officer.
Were you around anybody smoking?
Cigarettes.
That's it.
Officer, there's no weed shake on the floor, officer.
All right. Step out. Face the car.
After failing to secure a confession, Officer Thies allowed Mr. Little and Mr. Clinton to pour out the alcohol that was found and go on their way without making an arrest or issuing a citation. A few months after this incident, Mr. Little and Mr. Clinton teamed up with the social justice organization Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement to file a lawsuit against Officer Thies for violating their constitutional rights by stopping them without reasonable suspicion and conducting a warrantless search of the vehicle. In June of 2019, the Des Moines City Council agreed to a settlement of $75,000, with Mr. Little and Mr. Clinton receiving $25,000 each, and the law firm that represented them to receive the remaining $25,000. The Des Moines Police Department conducted an administrative review of Officer Thies, which led to the officer being removed from patrol duty but not fired. The city of Des Moines contends that the administrative review's findings can be kept secret because they're considered a personnel record and are part of an attorney's work product, which are exemptions in Iowa's public records law. Overall, Officer Thies gets an F for racially profiling Mr. Little and Mr. Clinton, violating their constitutional rights, and using shady police tactics in an attempt to solicit a confession for a crime that did not exist. Officer Thies was involved in a separate incident earlier in 2018, which resulted in a civil rights case being brought against him with elements of racial profiling at the forefront of the accusations. That lawsuit is still ongoing. The Des Moines Register reported that Thies was responsible for 253 arrests in 2017, with about half of those arrested being African American. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, only 11% of Des Moines residents identify as Black or African American, which suggests an unusually high racial disparity among Officer Thies's arrestees. While several factors may affect the racial makeup of the people in officer arrests, those numbers, complemented with documented cases such as this one, do not shine a favorable light onto the policing tactics of Officer Thies and ultimately cost the city of Des Moines $75,000. Mr. Little and Mr. Clinton both get an A for remaining calm during the interaction, resisting the coercion tactics of Officer Thies by refusing to admit guilt, and following up this encounter with legal action. Members of the Des Moines Police Department have been featured in 2 other videos on my channel, and it seems that the department is relatively well known for its poor relationship with its community and overall bad policing. But very few have been appropriately compensated for the misconduct of the department, and even fewer police officers have been held accountable for their actions. I commend Mr. Little and Mr. Clinton for taking the necessary legal action and finding success within the justice system, and I encourage other Des Moines residents to hold their police officers accountable. Perhaps after the financial burden of police misconduct weighs down on the city, major changes will be made, and the citizens of Des Moines can rebuild their relationship with their local law enforcement. Let us know if there's an interaction or legal topic you would like us to cover in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more police interaction content.
Hey gun people! Well, this is make sure and throw these people who are exposing this on crooked government, throw them a like. So this is on Jody Barr. I don't know how I got this video, but prosecution of a Texas cop charged with beating an arrestee is detained again or delayed again.
Sir, it's a case we followed in our position of power investigations. Now, as the nation is scrutinizing police abuse cases, there's a new setback in this case out of Hutto. A Williamson County grand jury indicted former officer Gregory Paris 14 months ago on 2 counts of assault and official oppression. KXAN investigator Jody Barr went to the Williamson County Courthouse where Paris was scheduled for a hearing today.
Well, this is now the 5th time that a hearing for this officer did not happen as planned.
So 5th time they've delayed it. And again, government always wants to drag out their misconduct lawsuits and charges because time is always on the side. The longer it goes, the more chance a witness is confused. When it goes to court, the attorneys can say, it's been over 3 years since this happened. Is your recollection really that good? You know, so they want to prolong this. Witnesses can get in car accidents. Witnesses can become ill. Witnesses can be out of the country and can't appear in court. So the longer you wait, the better.
The prosecutor in this case tells me, though, these cancellations are routine and also blames the pandemic for the reason why this case has now gone 14 months without getting before a jury.
14 months, they've charged this guy. They're trying to plea with the defendant. If they can plea with the defendant, the DA will cut some sweetheart deal. If this goes to criminal trial before they get a plea on the civil side, this guilty verdict will help the civil case tremendously, and they'll get more money. I mean, when somebody's convicted of a crime and then you sue them civilly, it's an automatic win. The burden of proof of criminal is much, much higher than civil. So it's just presumed that if you're guilty in criminal court, you're absolutely guilty in civil. In civil, you only have to tip the scales 51% to 49%, and you win. In criminal, you have to get beyond a reasonable doubt above moral certainty. So it's a much, much higher standard to get a criminal conviction. That's why if you get a criminal conviction, the civil case is an automatic win, which is why they always want to settle the civil case before any criminal goes to trial, unless they think they're going to win. Then they'll be like, oh no, we don't want to settle because we think we're going to win. And when we don't win, you're going to have less bargaining power because now you don't have a criminal. So, I mean, and anytime you can hold off, the civil trial wants to use all the testimony and evidence that's put in at the criminal. Now they have this wealth of information that if somebody gets on a stand during the civil trial and they contradict what they did in the criminal, you have all this great information. So the civil case always does better after the criminal case has run its course. Unless they don't get a conviction and you don't get any new information, then it doesn't help you.
Paris was charged after he arrested Jeremy Rogers in 2008.
And let me say, I'm glad this cop was charged. But Ricky's a white man. I don't give a shit about color, all this color crap. Government tyranny is bullshit. I don't care what color, sex, nationality they are. It's bullshit. This cop punched this guy and he didn't need to. And he was being macho and tough. And the female officer, his boss, was right there and watched it and did nothing. And then they both lied in their reports. So I'm glad they got charged. And I hope they get convicted.
Rogers was standing in a friend's driveway drinking a beer when Paris claimed police got a call from a neighbor about a marijuana smell coming from a Hutto home. The video shows Paris search Rogers, then demand to see his ID.
Okay, so guy's drinking in his friend's yard, which is private property. Unless he steps out in public property, or in public, there's not a crime there. Now, marijuana, I can't believe they still arrest people in Texas for freaking marijuana. It's just crazy. It's like we got nothing else better to do than fill the jails up with somebody out there smoking a little weed. Are you kidding me?
Paris then demands Rogers hand over his wallet. When Rogers refuses, the video shows Paris punch him in the face and continues beating him while on the ground. Rogers, who is suing the city of Hutto and Paris over this, suffered what his attorney described as a closed head injury and had to have part of his ear sewn back up.
Okay, when you lose a body part like a nose, an eye, or an ear, or a finger, that's called mayhem. That is a very serious felony. You maim somebody for life. Now, they were able to reattach his ear, but this cop has some serious charges. Now, of course, in the report, both the female officer and the cop lied and said this guy violently pushed him in the chest and the officer felt pain. Did you see that in the video? I'm going to show you another angle of the video in a second.
On. The video also shows Hutto officer Jamie Alcacer standing by during Rogers' beating and did not intervene.
Oh, she was just a good witness. She was protecting the blue line. She was a hero. Rick, all cops are heroes. Okay.
Hutto Police Chief Paul Hall told us last year the public shouldn't rely on the video alone in this case.
Well, of course he's going to say that. His officer looks like shit in the video. Of course he's going to. What do you expect the chief to come out and say, that officer was out of control, I totally disagree with it, I fired him immediately, and now the civil case just got doubled. Because now we got the police chief as a witness. The police chief still works for the city, and he works for the city attorney and the people who are defending the city to pay out money. So of course they're going to have a company line. Nobody tells the freaking truth.
This isn't a question about the ongoing litigation, but do you believe in the ability of these two officers to continue to police in Hutto?
Pause. What should I say? Yeah, I better say yeah, because I haven't fired either one of them.
I certainly do believe that. Too often, we look at the one bad incident out of 19,000 calls.
Oh, here we go. I love the stat people that want to come here. There's over 1 million cops, and we only see like maybe 100 videos. You've lost your freaking mind. Every contact I see, cops are outrageous. I can't remember the last contact that I've seen in person or on video where the cops actually did a good job. Very far and few between.
For service, 19,000 contacts, and we picked out one thing.
Picked out one thing. Are you kidding me? I did a check on this police department. There's all kind of shit about shooting. This officer got fired for theft. I mean, there's all kind of crap on this department. This officer's like, we pick out one thing. Really? Lies, lies, lies.
That's less than 1.0001111%. So I want people to keep that in mind.
We've got video. There's an indictment in the case. There are allegations in a civil lawsuit at this point. You believe those three things together may not tell the complete story here?
I believe it does not tell the complete story.
So the prosecutor, the DA that dropped the charges on the suspect, the DA that charged the cop after reviewing the evidence, and it's very hard to get an eviction of a cop, and they usually don't charge cops unless it's very egregious. So the DA that charged the cop was wrong, and you think both these cops should be working, and you haven't fired either one. Matter of fact, you paid the guy who did this 10 months vacation. He was on leave getting full pay for 10 months.
There's another side to this.
There is another side.
Well, Hutto City Hall confirmed today that Gregory Paris is no longer with the city. The city tells me he was laid off in late March as part of a massive citywide job cut. All
right, how many of you idiots out there believe that this guy got laid off because of the coronavirus? Put your hand up, you freaking dummy. They didn't lay him off because of coronavirus. They laid him off and said it was a coronavirus, so they couldn't say they fired him because of this incident, because it would make the civil case worse. If they said we fired him, then they'd be like, you know what? You fired him because he was wrong, and we know you're wrong, and that helps the civil case. So they say, no. We were going to keep him. We kept him on leave for 10 months on pay, but when we had to do cuts because of coronavirus, he was one of the unlucky, unfortunate ones to get laid off. Aww. It's a shame. He was a good officer, Rick. Okay.
Related to the COVID pandemic. Although Paris is no longer with the city now, he did spend 10 months under paid leave while under indictment. His next hearing in his criminal prosecution is set for August. His attorney, though, tells me that Paris wants a jury trial and does not have any plan to sign a plea agreement in this case. As far as this federal civil case against the city of Hutto and the two officers, that is still pending tonight from the Williamson County Court.
Of course it's still pending. So here's another video on this case where it shows a little bit clearer video footage. And this is from KXAN. Let me throw them a like, and we'll watch the video.
Push on me.
A Hutto police officer who beat a man during a 2018.
Notice the female officer that keeps the light so the officer can tell, where to hit his guy and get his punks. It also blinds the suspect so he can't defend himself. So the female officer, she was just being a good witness.
Push on me. A Hutto police officer who beat a man during a 2018 arrest faces years in prison if he's convicted.
So what happens when an officer is charged with a crime?
It's been 5 months since a Williamson County grand jury indicted Officer Gregory Paris. Now KXAN investigator Jody Barr has obtained the body camera video that's at the center of a lawsuit against 2 officers and the city.
The Hutto Police Department has him on leave. They've had him there for 5 months. He's still collecting a paycheck. So we wanted to understand the city's process for investigating its own.
Put your phone down, put your hands up on the truck real fast. What? Because I'm telling you to.
For what? Because I'm telling you to. Because I'm the law. Because I got a badge. Because I'm the man in blue. And if you cross me, I will punch you. And if you fight back, I'll charge you with a felony assault on an officer. Because all the things are because I have backup. Because we have guns. And because you're nothing but a pesky, low-life citizen out there working, trying to make a living. That's why, Mr. Freaking it just pisses me off.
Put your phone down, put your hands up on the truck real fast. What? Because I'm telling you to. Dude, don't do that. Put your hands up on the truck, man.
So he's already assaulted and put hands on him. The guy's just confused, like, dude, what do you want? What's going on? How about explaining to me? How about letting me know what crime I committed? Rick, he doesn't have to do that. He's the police. You're just picking on him. You should just listen to the police and comply, and then you wouldn't have any problems. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, for one. Scoot your feet. Scoot your feet.
Hutto police officer Greg.
I looked at the tattoo in slow motion several times. I think it says Milan LeBay, which is come and take it.
Gregory Paris and his boss, Officer Jamie Alcazar.
His boss was there. Look at this fine specimen of a female officer. Look at her little hashtag. She's been a cop for a long time. She's really good at shining her flashlight while this guy beats the hell out of the guy.
Ended up on Page Bend Drive, claiming someone called in a smell coming from one of the homes.
Well, you smell like weed right now, man. As well as the alcohol. Yeah, you smell it on your shirt.
They found Jeremy Rogers standing in his friend's driveway, drinking a cold one. The video shows Officer Paris search Rogers, then demand to see his ID.
You get your ID on you? I don't have my ID on me. You don't have anything with any sort of identification on there? Can I see your wallet?
Nope.
Give me your wallet.
Would you have probable cause?
Yeah, how about you go to jail right now for public intoxication?
Well, actually, he's on private property, so I'm not sure if public. Does Texas consider a driveway on a private property public now?
But why? I didn't step out of it.
Then, without warning or any directions from the officer.
Push on. Don't push on me. Now remember, this officer he violently pushed me in the chest, and I felt pain, or my chest hurt. Watch this push, people.
Then, without warning or any directions from the officer.
Push on me.
I didn't push on you, dude.
Get on the ground.
I think you.
Officer Paris punched Rogers in the face. While on the ground, Paris continues punching the man, radios for help, then hits Rogers with a taser.
County, we don't find you. Hands behind your back.
In the video, Paris immediately explained his side to a nearby witness.
Because he pushed me, he shoved me. It's on camera.
The victim filed a federal lawsuit in February accusing Officer Paris of excessive force and both officers of false arrest. The lawsuit claims both officers lied about the details of the arrest to make sure the district attorney's office prosecuted Rogers. Officer Paris typed in his reports that Rogers violently shoved him in the chest.
Everybody see that violent shove? I mean, that's just flat out lying. That's filing false court documents. That's perjury. Well, it's not a sworn statement. Although you sign it, it's not signed under penalty of perjury, which probably wouldn't be a bad law. When police officers or politicians sign any document, it ought to be under penalty of perjury to stop that bullshit from signing shit like this and not being able to charge with a crime.
The shove partially knocking me off balance and causing pain to my chest.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? That cop was twice as big as this kid. He had 2 officers there. The guy was drinking peacefully in a driveway. The only complaint was a smell of marijuana. And this macho tough cops decide to start punching on a guy that can't fight back and still charges him with a felony. Oh, man, cops are just... And this is Texas. Everybody's like, man, Arizona cops are the worst. I'm telling you, man, Texas cops are freaking out of control just as much as any other place.
Rogers continued to resist arrest by flailing his arms and pushing away.
Maybe he was flailing his arms to protect his face from getting punched. Maybe he was pushing away a guy that was violently attacking him. No, Rick. He's a pesky citizen. He doesn't have that right to defend himself. It's the blue line, the code of the blue, the brotherhood, the heroes protecting us. Yeah, okay.
Officer Paris wrote in his report. The lawsuit claims Rogers was merely reacting to the officer grabbing his head.
I mean, why would this officer suddenly grab this guy by the head and push him down for not giving him his wallet? Doesn't say turn around, you're under arrest, give me your arm. Doesn't say anything. Just grabs the guy in the head and pushes it down like he's going to get kneed. Of course the guy's going to be like, what the fuck's going on? What are you doing?
Something Rogers' side argues is what any person would do to defend themselves during an assault. Rogers ended the night in the hospital.
Are you okay if I wrap that on there?
Before the officers hauled him off to jail. Officer Paris filed 3 charges against Rogers: public intoxication, felony assault on an officer, and resisting arrest. 2 months later, Williamson County prosecutors dropped all charges.
2 months later. It took 2 months for the DA to figure out that we shouldn't charge. You know what happened in those 2 months? They tried to probably get this kid to plea bargain to some bullshit so they could count as a win. And then when they went for their budget next year, they say, look how many cases we had to prosecute. Look how many wins we got. So they tried to force a plea, and when a guy wouldn't plea, they went, there's no way we can put this lying bullshit in front of a jury, so we have to drop the charges. That's why it took 2 months.
In February, Jeremy Rogers sued the city of Hutto and officers Paris and Alcocer. Then in May, a year after the assault, Williamson County prosecutors charged Officer Paris with assault and official oppression.
A year later to charge the cop. 2 months to drop the charges on a guy that didn't do shit, and a year later to charge the cop. Well, Rick, at least they charged him. I'm tired of people justifying government incompetence, saying at least, and well, they could have not done anything. And you want to accept the continued incompetence and lies of government. Government should be held to the standard. There's no reason it should take a year to charge this freaking cop. And now it's taken another year and he still hasn't even been in court yet.
Hutto Police Chief Paul Hall took Paris after the assault. Williamson County prosecutors charged Officer Paris with assault and official oppression. Hutto Police Chief Paul Hall took Paris off patrol in May, but not off the force. Officer Paris has been on paid leave ever since. Alcocer, accused of standing by and not stopping the assault and arrest, and of also writing false information into and signing off on the police reports. She's still on patrol.
Still on patrol, still arresting people, still going to testify. See, every defense attorney, there needs to be a national database on cops. There really does. I mean, anytime one of these cops go to trial, it ought to be, have you ever lied on a police report, officer? And when they say no, you show the video. And when they say yes, their credibility goes to shit. And any jury will be like, dude, if you lied before, you'll lie again. And I guarantee you, it ain't the first time they've done it. I mean, it's just crazy. You never got me on a stand or in a report saying, if you ever lied, I'd be like, hell no, I ain't never lied. And you ain't going to prove I lied because it ain't fucking happening. So, I mean, it's just crazy that there's not some national database that somebody keeps track of every officer on how many freaking resisting arrests they file. You know, when an officer has, and California did this for a while, the DA was keeping tabs on how many 148s. And when cops started getting like 10, 15, and 20, they were like, dude, man, they're going to start fucking coming after you or something. Those cops stopped charging 148. 148 is resisting arrest. So they stopped charging 148s. I mean, in Texas, it's like the catch-all. And it seems like every state, it's the catch-all. If you do anything I don't like, I'll just charge you for resisting arrest. And I'll lock you up, and I'll charge you with a felony, and I'll make you get a lawyer, and I'll put you through misery, and I'll make your life hell, and then the DA will just dismiss the charges. And there's absolutely zero repercussions for the officer doing that. That's fucking bullshit, people.
The chief would not talk about the specifics of the case, but also wouldn't explain the process of what happens internally when an officer is charged with a crime. Does that trigger your internal investigative processes, or what happens at that point?
Well, like I said, we're going to address on a case-by-case.
Well, we don't have an internal process. We usually try to cover for the officer whichever way we can, delay, and keep him in, we don't have a process. Shit, if we have a process, then you'd be telling us we didn't follow it. And we don't want that. Nice cover, Chief.
Well, like I said, we're going to address on a case-by-case situation.
We filed an open records request with the city to show you Parrott's and Alcacer's employee files. The city won't turn those over and has asked the Attorney General's office to block us from getting those public records. And this isn't a question about the ongoing litigation, but do you believe in the ability of these two officers to continue to police in Hutto?
I certainly do believe that. I certainly do believe in that. Too often, we look at the contact.
We've already heard this.
All
right, look. I can't find anything else on this case. It'll be interesting to see if this guy goes in front of a jury, if a jury holds him accountable. So anybody gets any updates, make sure and put it in the comments, because it'll pop up a new comment, and I'll do a follow-up if I can get some more information. All right, we'll end that there.
I'm trying to get water for my dog because we just walked the battlefield.
I don't care about Texas. You're in Pennsylvania. You need to have a Pennsylvania driver's license.
I gotta get my dog water. That's the only thing that's wrong right now. Other than you guys being obese in uniform, you know?
I don't care whether you
Why do you have
consent
to call
or
your
not.
dad? What
You know
a
who he
loser.
works
You guys
for?
all
Do you
are
know who he works
losers.
for?
You guys are all terrorists.
who-
You floss your butt with the 10th Amendment, with the Bill of Rights. All you're doing is eating too much and making that uniform look like crap. It's making me throw up in my mouth looking at you.
This is going to go one of two ways. The easy way or the hard way. The
I
easy
don't
way
consent to this.
is you cooperate with them. The hard way is you're going to go to jail today.
Watch these
Are you
fat
gonna
fucks
listen to
suppress
me?
me.
Are you
No,
gonna listen
no,
to
man,
me?
you're a little chipmunk. Look at your face. You are a clown-looking motherfucker in that blue
Okay.
suit. You're a terrorist, dude.
Okay.
What are you backing him up for?
I'm filming and I'm on a fucking sidewalk. I'm on a public sidewalk? I'm on a sidewalk? I'm on a sidewalk. What are you trying to do? But what were you threatening me with again, sir?
Sir, if you impede these gentlemen right here, we're going to have an arrest.
Am I impeding them? I'm filming them.
Impede, I'm telling you. If
I have
you
a lawful
impede them,
right.
Okay?
I understand that.
That's
What
what
are
I'm
you-
telling you.
Okay.
That's what I'm telling you.
Cool.
And when you address me, you use less colorful language also.
I don't think I could do
I
any
don't
of that
appreciate
stuff.
that.
I'm sorry. I don't appreciate what y'all
I don't-
do.
It doesn't even concern you. That
Yeah,
doesn't
this
concern
does.
you.
It absolutely does. How does it not?
Do not impede those
I'm not
officers.
impeding them.
I'm telling you. Do not impede
What
those
is your?
officers.
Why is your hand on your gun?
Because that's the way it always is.
Okay.
Andrew Golden is a musician activist who decided to film a traffic stop when Trooper Harvey Briggs, a 22-year veteran, decided to verbally intervene. Andrew is standing on a public sidewalk. Trooper Briggs walks over and has his hand on his gun. So Andrew asks, "Why is your hand on your gun?" Trooper Briggs replies, "It's always on my gun." Oh boy, meet Trooper Briggs, the escalator, who will wind up screwing himself which is what bad cops do all the time. Andrew is wearing a mask. Briggs was not, and made an intentional effort to not practice social distancing guidelines, and went right up and got in Andrew's face, and then decided to rip his mask off. It's difficult to see, but there is a mask laying on the ground, and I don't think Andrew is Houdini. So common sense makes the correct assumption that Trooper Briggs committed a criminal act while ripping off Andrew's mask. The other troopers who witnessed the criminal action by Briggs failed to take any action. But this is what bad cops do within a corrupt culture, and they need to be thrown out with the trash, which is exactly what happened to Trooper Briggs, 22-year veteran, on Friday, August 14th. He was terminated, so the psychologically unfit law enforcement officer will be searching for another job. Shadow wants to know, what about his pension? I don't know what the pension structure is in Tennessee, but if it's not tied in centrally for all cops, Harvey Briggs may be out of luck. News sometimes comes with attachments, which is what happened this week. The Tennessee legislature passed some new laws because they did not like demonstrators camping out at the Capitol and the protests, so they increased the penalties to felonies for camping out and demonstrating. Oh my God, this sounds like China. China. Have you heard that word before? Because that's what they do in China. Lock people up because they are still a totalitarian regime. Don't kid yourself. But we live in the USA, and the Tennessee government appears to be criminalizing demonstrating. But James, what about the Bill of Rights? Great question, Shadow. And they will get away with it until someone gets arrested for this BS. And who has the guts to appeal this up to a higher court? And who will most likely lose? The Tennessee state government, of course, because this is in conflict to our Constitution. But this is our government, and the wheels of justice turn slowly. And in my humble opinion, this is a blatant violation of our civil rights. First clip is footage that Andrew took, and then a mainstream news video. Links are in the description. This is James Justice, and stay safe in these crazy times.
You're not wearing a mask? And you're right up in my face? Look at this. What the fuck is your friend doing over here?
Do not impede them.
I'm not impeding
understand?
anything. What? Briggs? Oh, you're Briggs. Oh
Yes,
my
I am.
God. Yeah, okay. What the fuck?
Don't impede
You gonna do something about that? You just ripped the fucking mask off my face.
Come on.
What the fuck?
What I say about the language now?
You just ripped a mask off my face.
I did not.
I have it on film.
Oh, come on. I'm tired of you people making stuff up.
What do you mean, you people? I have it on film. Tired of me making it up. I ain't gonna film it.
Tennessee State Trooper has been fired after this video. It shows Trooper Harvey Briggs ripping a face mask off of protester Andrew Golden, who had been videotaping a traffic stop on Monday.
So I was like, I need to make sure that she is okay and film the interaction, because by just me being there typically and filming, people are gonna try and keep all their bases covered.
The two get into a verbal confrontation. Trooper Briggs telling Golden to stop impeding on the arrest. That's when this happened.
I was really just surprised and kind of frozen, I guess. I just knew that I couldn't do anything about it other than just like exclaim what happened.
THP says 22-year veteran Trooper Briggs was served with a termination notice Friday for unprofessional conduct in the incident on Monday. But Golden believes his video is to credit for the expedited response.
I think the only reason all of this happened, or the response we saw where he was terminated, was because of the huge pushback from social media against the officer and like the overwhelming support for me. And it's the fact that it went viral, I think, is one of the only reasons that we're seeing the results we're seeing.
However, Golden says he still wants more to be done. He says he plans to meet with an attorney over the next day or two to discuss pressing charges.
This is an update story about Tennessee Trooper Briggs. There were so many of you who made reference to him just going to work at another police department. He was fired a few weeks ago. He should have been arrested for assault. Then, because videos don't lie, but no one in Tennessee law enforcement acted. This douchebag inserted himself into a situation that he now wishes he had not. Cameras are everywhere, and there are those unfortunate bad cops who just fail to realize how retarded and stupid they are until it's too late to save themselves. He was caught ripping the mask off of photographer Andrew Golden. I covered this story, and you have to wonder why it took so long for them to charge the cop with assault. That's right, you heard me, they charged him with assault. It's the right thing to do. But the leaders in this part of the state police system in Tennessee had to have a big powwow, in my humble opinion, to discuss it over and over to try and save this bad trooper who has now been charged with criminal assault, meaning they threw him under the bus. Here's a guy with no stripes on his uniform who appears to be on guard duty. They could have won kudos from we the people if they immediately had charged him, but no, they sure took their sweet time. Will Briggs bargain for his badge certification? And what about his pension? So many from the original story thought he would just recycle to another department, but it's a different story now. I want to thank Dwayne McWilliams for tipping me off to this story first. Could not find one single video clip of this story on Main Street News at this time, and you have to wonder. Check out the links. They're in the description. This is James Justice, and stay safe during these crazy times.